Welcome, my Garage Army, to Friday Night Chats with Garage Geek. I hope everyone had a great week. I kind of did. I'm just so glad it's Friday. I'm actually very excited for my live stream, which I'm going to do tomorrow, but more on that later. School was always very interesting. I thought I'd give you just a couple anecdotes of things that went on at school. So today I go into a class because I have to cover it, and they're not my students, so I go in there. And immediately the kids, they just start hurling insults at me. I was like, what the heck? So I had to get them all calmed down, stop them from doing that. It took me about, 5 to 8 minutes just to calm them down and have them stop, harassing me. And then, one of the kids is holding up a calculator and he's like doing this to me with the calculator, like he wants to shoot me. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Kids getting, I told him, kids getting a lot of trouble for these kind of things, right? If I thought you were serious. But man, just going into these classes, I'm just like, oh gosh, I was literally counting the minutes down till I could get out of that hellhole. It was bad. I was like, these kids were, all on their phones. I would walk around, try to help them with the lesson. They weren't having that. It was a math class. They were doing graphs with I guess they're called linear equations, right? Where they're doing slope and all that kind of stuff. It was interesting. And then the librarian wrote me this morning. She's like, the library had been closed because our school had been flooded. Kids broke in. There was vandalism. So there were teachers actually doing their classes in the library. So she had to close it. So she wrote me this morning, hey, you coming? And I was like, oh, I thought it was next week for whatever scheduling. And so I'm like, okay. And so we go there and it's pretty good. The first class was pretty bad. We dealt with it. And then, at the end of the day, I was warning her. I was like, it's the third time I'm taking this class. I'm like, I really shouldn't bring this class. You saw how they were. Like, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. We take the kids and it's so bad that we actually have to divide the class and I have to take half of them into the back part of the library and kind of babysit them while she was with the rest of them. After the kids left, she was like kind of shell-shocked and she was like, wow, I didn't realize that they were, that bad. I guess I had forgotten. I was like, yeah, it's like, it's like, that's what I deal with every day with these kids, right? Just, trying to wrangle them, get them to be calm, not to yell insults at each other. So anyways, that was my week of school. I might as well jump into my live stream. So tomorrow I'm going to do this. So this is for Guz69. I pulled this off because it's got a skull on it. So this is the year's best horror stories, series 5. And there you go. You have a skull. So remember that Guz69 has a blog where he's doing a skull a day. And so make sure you check that out. So let me put that over there out of the way. So my live stream, I am going to be discussing this book, Rat, this recording, Ambient 1, Music for Airports, by Brian Eno, the movie M by Fritz Lang, which I'm actually going to read tonight. Watch tonight. I did that on purpose. I wanted to watch it right before, so it'd be fresh in my mind. And this graphic novel, She-Hulk. And so actually, I've been listening and reading. I finished these and I've listened to this numerous times. And normally I would review those, but I'm going to save those for tomorrow. So what did I read? I read the first book in The Fall of the Towers by Samuel R. Delany, but I only got halfway through it. Now, I was determined that I was going to read the first book. And I'm also going to talk about the build quality on this book. I read the first half of the first book, and I really was trying to push myself through it, but I stopped because I knew that I had to focus on getting through this. And I've become a very slow reader. I do a lot of my listening in the car. Whenever I pick up a book, it's really bad because I'm like always itching to get on the phone and just look something up or do something. And of course, with me, when I read, I kind of get faster as I'm going along. I'm a little bit slow at the beginning, but once I get into the rhythm, and that constant break just slows me down every time. I really, really need to learn how to not use the phone as a distraction so that I can just get back into reading. So anyways, let's talk about the build quality of this book. I talked about this book before because I got it from Amazon. It was all beat up. But if you look at it, like, look at the way it's built. Now, I have bought many, many vintage paperbacks from I'm talking about the company Vintage. Right? But this seems to be put together so poorly. Like, look at all the creases in it. I'm kind of shocked. I've never had, I don't know if you could see that. I've never had one of their paperbacks put together so shoddily before. I mean, I don't know, like, to me, the quality on this is pretty bad. I hope that's a one-off. I hope that's not normal, because vintage paperbacks have always been really nice. Before I get into what I watched and read, I am going to show you a couple books. I got some books in the mail, and they're mostly Edgar Rice Burroughs. A couple of the artists most of them are Frazetta, and some of them are Crinkle, but I got this, Beyond the Farthest Star. Isn't that pretty cool? And The Moon Maid. That one's not so great. I think that one's a Crinkle. I like him, but not as much as Frazetta. I got this. I love these with the wraparound art. There's another one. This one is really cool because it's a Western that Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote, and I really do like the cover art on that one. Here's A Land of Terror. That one really looks like a Conan book. It isn't, right? No, Land of Terror, I don't think so. No, Conan is not Burroughs. He's Robert E. Howard, of course. This is the one I really, really wanted because I read the first two books in the series and I couldn't find the audiobook for this, so I needed this one to continue the series. So finally I got it. It has a little crease, but I was willing to buy it just because I want to read this one and continue the series. This is not Frazetta. This one is by Jones, but it's got a very Frazetta look to it. Yeah, and I think that's really cool art. And finally, there are these three, which I really wanted. I like the covers on these. They're fun. I guess it's a series. This is number 3, 6, and 9 in this series. And I like the covers, and I thought that would be cool. So I got those. So there you go. There's some books that I bought. I also got some comic books. I'm not on Whatnot that much anymore, but I did get some comics, but I'm going to spare you that. So let's go ahead and jump into what I've been reading and listening to and watching. So we're going to start with something that I was supposed to talk about last week, but I didn't. And that is The Thin Man. So I wanted to read The Thin Man because I read a book with Sleepy Reader concurrently where it was, what was that called? It was on the Hugo. It was one of the Hugo nominated books. And it was, loosely based on this idea of The Thin Man. So we both wanted to read, and he actually read it too, Thin Man, and we were going to discuss both. But time just got away from us, and we never did discuss those. Did I like this book? I really liked it, but I'm not a big mystery writer fan. And so the mystery for me fell short because mysteries are always convoluted and then announced to the killer as you're just like, oh, okay, like I wouldn't have guessed that anyway. I just don't follow the mystery too much, is what I'm saying. For some people, I think, if they read mysteries, that's what they would be attracted to. But what I did like is the writing and the social commentary of, the couple and the two leads in this book. And of course, this went on to spawn a very popular series of movies, which I would actually like to rewatch. I know I've watched a couple of them, but I don't think I've watched them all. I absolutely hate that cover, by the way. I think that cover is atrocious. I do like the color of the smoke, but that's about it. Hate that cover. The next one I'm going to talk about is this book called All the Little Bird Hearts. And this one was by Victoria Lord Barlow. And this was a nominated Booker. It was a Booker nominee, but it didn't make the short list. It only made the long list. And I think that's an absolute crime. I loved this book. Wow, did I love this book. After reading it, I did look at some reviews online, and like this one guy just straight up said, hated it. It was boring. You have to take my review with a grain of salt, but I thought this was fascinating. It is about a woman who has autism, and she has a 16-year-old child, and these people, a couple move in next door, and the couple next door they just overturn their lives. But what is so fascinating about this book is the first, I guess, 100 pages or so, really building up the character of this autistic woman, because we get the whole book from her point of view, and we can, like, she really describes like the routines that she goes through. For example, the colors of food she eats, and just the things that she does in her normal life, and how she feels when she's certain places, and how she doesn't like change, and like this is all built up over 100 pages, and I thought that was fascinating. I listened to, or I think I actually read Temple Grandin's autobiography, and how she talked about, so she's an autistic woman, if you didn't know, who worked with the meat industry and slaughterhouses to make their practices more humane. And she described what it's like for animals and people with autism. I'm sorry, I don't mean to lump them together, but she was saying, talking about humans and talking about animals, and she was mentioning how people with autism can tune in onto things that, I have to say this right, neurodiverse people don't. Okay, so that's the new terminology, neurodiversity. Temple Grandin would talk about how she could relate to animals, and that's how she's able to, for example, cows that are going through the slaughterhouse lines, she's able to make them more comfortable, because she knows autistic people are often very comfortable when they're wrapped up in something like a blanket or something. And she says, like, if the walls of the slaughterhouse, of the lines, are pressing in just so slightly, then the cows will feel a lot more secure. They're less likely to freak out. And she said, like, if there's, like, she knows that, like, many autistic people, they can't have things out of order or something that's really bright or shiny or glaring. And she said that's something, like, if there's a step going up, that will freak out the cows, or if there's some kind of flash, or like something is moving and the sun goes off it, that can make the cows nervous. I think the biggest story that I remember from that book that it really stuck with me is how dogs, they know us, they know our voices, they know our smell, and they know what we look like, but they don't put that sensory input together. So, for example, if they hear you coming up the stairs, and they hear it and they know your sound, and you're going up the stairs, and maybe they can smell you too, I don't know. But if you're wearing a mask and you open the door, they won't put it together that that's someone they like most likely know, and they'll start barking, right? Because they don't put the visual and the auditory together. And I thought that was fascinating, a fascinating insight that I'd never, that would never have occurred to me to think about. And she said autistic people often will do this. Like, I'm going on and on about this book. That Temple Grandin book was great. The character in this is neurodiverse, and she is having so many issues, because at first the woman next door to her is very nice, very friendly. She's very wild, like she's a force of nature, but it soon starts to become insidious. Like, she has ideas, like she never had her own child, and so she kind of starts to take over her daughter. And, like, as a reader, we can see what she's doing, and the narrator just is like reporting what's going on and what she thinks about things, but we can see how she's wrong. And yeah, the neighbors just, it becomes something more in the second half of the book. I've just found this book to be fascinating. I would highly recommend All the Little Bird Hearts. And I was actually surprised that this didn't make it further onto the list, but so many people had a negative reaction to this book, saying how boring it was. I don't know. I highly disagree with that. There is a weekly auction of comics and magazines, and I was looking through them, I already sent this to some people. This magazine is called Quick, and the main article says, I was a rapist. And it says the first person story of a pervert. And I was just cracking up. I just wanted to include that because, yeah, it made me laugh. And that woman just so much looks like Sophia Loren. I was taking a picture of the moon, and I was holding some stuff, and all of a sudden I had to, before it would fall, I had to suddenly, move my arms to catch it. And I got that picture. Like as I was taking the picture of the full moon, I got that. Pretty cool. That was another picture. Like I am not good at night photography. But yeah, I got those pictures. I've never mastered it. I finished this one today. What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Now, Kingfisher wrote I think the Hugo Award book that won this year called Nettle and Bone. And again, Sleepy Reader and I were supposed to discuss that one, and we didn't. So I don't think we ever talked about what we liked. I loved that book. I really liked it, and I thought it deserved to win. And this is another book, but this one was nominated, I think, under the novella or novelette. Can't remember. However, it's the fifth one in this series that was nominated this year. And whenever it's something like that, I just go back to the beginning and I'll get caught up eventually. So this is the first one, and it's called What Moves the Dead. And it's basically a retelling of the fall of the House of Usher. And when I read that, I was like, ooh, I've got to try this out. And wow, it was good. Now, this was a combination of Edgar Allan Poe and, one of my favorite books by Vandermeer. What is it? It's a trilogy. Why do I always forget these things? I mean, I love this book. It's like one of my favorite books. It's called, they made a movie of it. It's not called Arrival. It's called, I don't know. They go into this, like, I guess some meteor crashed and there's this zone. And what is that called? And they send people in there, and the people don't come back, or if they do, they're all warped. And it's such a great book. I love it. This reminded me of that. It's not called Arrival. It starts with an A, though. Yeah, no, I can't remember. So anyways, this reminded me of that because they go there. So it's the fall of the House of Usher, right? So this guy is summoned because the main character, well, the ushers, one of them is dying, the sister. And so the guy arrives, and then of course it's unraveling what's going on and why is she so she's very sick. And by the end, this becomes very sci-fi. It goes from being horrific to being sci-fi, and I enjoyed this so much. There's an autopsy scene in this book that was so good. It reminded me of John Carpenter's The Thing, the one with John Carpenter, the one with Kurt Russell in many ways. So this book was, first of all, is very short, and I am so looking forward to reading the other four so that I can get to that fifth one that was nominated. I don't even know if it won or if it was nominated for the Hugo. But yeah, highly recommended. What Moves the Dead. I mean, in just that cover is enough to make somebody want to read it for me. I watched the series Echo. Unfortunately, I watched it. And fortunately, it's only 5 episodes. I didn't hate it. I didn't. It's not a horrible show, but it's almost a waste of time. It wasn't, I can't recommend it. I'm glad I watched it because it does have some redeeming qualities. Is it a really great Marvel show? No. But it does have cameos from the people from the Daredevil show and other Marvel shows. What redeeming qualities it does have is that it uses Native American culture and actors, and the older couple, they're very one of them's very famous. They're very good in this show. It was a joy whenever the male, I forget his name, whenever he was on screen, he was just so much fun to see. Him chewing up his scenes, he was really good. Yeah, I don't know, it was just kind of boring. It just, it did its thing. I was glad it was only 5 episodes. But Vincent D'Onofrio as I think that's who is that who is Kingpin? That guy is just fascinating to watch in this role. Like, he is so hamming it up, but you don't care. It's like he's so good as the Kingpin. So that is another redeeming quality of this show. Just to watch, I think it's Vincent D'Onofrio, right? I might be wrong with that. his name. Him chew up those scenes with Kingpin. Man, he's really good. I don't really know what to say. So that is it. I'm actually going to tonight. I have to watch my movie M. And I'm actually going to do some research. I did this before, but I'm going to be looking up these, all of them. I listen to all 4 of the ambients. And so I'm going to be, writing down some notes for my live stream tomorrow, which starts at 10 in the morning. The live stream I'm going to do tomorrow, I'm going to be much more relaxed. I'm going to be focusing on the comments, or what do you call it? Yeah, the audience. And I think I'm going to sit in my chair, not stand up. I'm just going to have my computer. I'm just going to try to enjoy it. Whereas the last time I wasn't ready for it, and it was kind of a little bit overwhelming. You might see me slowing down so that I could, go over the comments and whatnot and respond to people. But yeah, we will be going over those 4 items. Like I mentioned, I want to wish everybody a great week. And, if you can't join the live stream tomorrow, no big deal. You could always watch it in after I post it again. Thank you all, everybody. As always, thank you for your support.